Roth here of RotoGrinders, and today we're going to talk about the RG Discord. If you're not a member, you should be. It is a fantastic community and resource that RotoGrinders provides, and it's easy to join as well. All you have to do is click the Discord icon on RotoGrinders or go to rotogrinders.com/discord. From there, you'll either sign up if you're new to RG, or if you're already a member, just click the link at the top to go to the sign-in page. Once you've logged into your RG account, you can be taken to Discord to log in there. Once you've connected those accounts, you won't have to leave the server. You can freely close out and reopen Discord without ever having to reconnect. The idea of Discord might be a little bit daunting to you, but it's actually pretty simple to navigate. Whether you're on mobile or desktop, the far left side will show you the Discord servers that you've already joined. Then next to that, you'll see the channels within that Discord. We have both free channels like Chiefs Prop Shop and our daily sport channels. And we also have premium channels like Blender's Game Theory or the Crunch Time channels. Premium members can see the difference between the free and premium channels by looking for a padlock icon next to the premium channel names. We also have a few pointers for new and experienced users alike. If you're having trouble finding a channel, make sure that you haven't collapsed the section that the channel is in. Collapsing a channel will only allow it to appear when there are unread messages in that channel. Also, we find that using the actual Discord program works better than opening it in a browser like Safari or Chrome. Lastly, if you're having trouble with one of our tools, your RotoGrinders account, or any other technical needs, you can hop in our feedback and help section of channels to get help from one of our wonderful support and moderation team members. If you have any more questions, feel free to reach out on Twitter @RotoGrinders or email support@rotogrinders.com. See you in Discord.
What's going on, everybody? Welcome to Crunch Time here on a Sunday morning. I am Britt Devine, joined by my man TJ. TJ, I've been watching and doing these shows for a little while. Happy to finally do a show with you.
Yeah, you as well. I'm excited to be on. Nice Sunday Crunch Time. We're down a man right now, but nothing we can't handle.
Yeah, if Chief is having some internet problems, he may or may not be able to jump back into the show today. If he does, we will welcome him in with open arms. But until then, it's going to be just me and TJ. I want to everybody know at the top, we are brought free by our proud sponsor, Fanduel over here. Go check Fanduel out, right? There's lots of fun stuff going on over there. They've got a $150,000 Sunday MLB squeeze. It's just $5, I would imagine. If I go to their lobby, that sucker's probably close to filling just about any second now. They usually time them to go off the board about a half an hour before, and it does look like that one is gone. So the large tournament's gone, but there are still plenty of other things to get in on FanDuel. You can also check out the sports book. I'll have a couple of bets for you today as well. You get a free risk-free $1,000 bet. Who doesn't love things like that? If you want to join the FanDuel Sportsbook, if you are in a state that is available to do that. With all that said, TJ, I guess maybe I'll handle some cash. Me and you were going to talk it, and Will was going to talk some tournaments, but maybe I'll talk some cash and I'll let you do a little tournament talk today. So I'll start first on FanDuel. And what we've got at pitching today, in my opinion, is basically pitching all year long, right? It's the start of the season. We're supposed to have all these aces, TJ. Are there no more aces in baseball? No one goes deep anymore. I know it's in the start of the season. These bullpens have a ton of players. So all the pitcher projections are kind of smushed up here. So generally, it hasn't been a great idea to spend the most on a pitcher, because then you're missing some of the better bats, but then the bats don't do anything either. So it's been a really fun start to DFS. If you use the bat loves Steven Matz today. I am definitely on board with that. An okay pitcher in basically all aspects, going up against pitcher designated against Pittsburgh all season long is going to be someone we're going to want to use. He's just 7,900, and he lets you get TJ's Vlad Guerrero. It lets you get TJ's George Springer. It lets you get Bo Bichette. It lets you get all these guys you want from Toronto today, at least on the early slate. So I do like Matz. If you're looking for probably the safest, although the bat would not agree with that, Peralta definitely has the biggest upside. The Cubs have gotten to the Brewers in these first two games of the series. Neither Woodruff or Corbin Burns really had a great outing. We'll have to see if Peralta can get on track. He certainly has probably the highest strikeout upside on the slate overall, but he's just a little bit too expensive for me to really want, because I want some of the, at least the perceived to be powerful bats today. So I'm finding myself more on Matz on FanDuel than Peralta. Kluber to me is more in play on DraftKings, where you need two pitchers. He can be a little Jekyll Hyde. So I don't know if I want to use him as my single source for a cash game pitcher on FanDuel. And then if you don't want to play Matz, and you don't want to pay for Peralta, you've got Eflin. Pitcher against Oakland is the other pitcher we're going to be using all season long. Those are probably the three Matz, Peralta, and Eflin I would roll in on FanDuel. DraftKings, right? I mentioned Peralta, or not Peralta, Kluber, just a little bit more on DraftKings. The price is really nice on him at 7,400. You've got Matz at 7,100. If you pair those, you can get all the Blue Jays. You can get Juan Soto. You can get, basically your pick, Byron Buxton. Throw them all in your lineup on DraftKings if you go with the two cheap pitchers today. You've got Eflin as well. I haven't found myself getting up to Peralta in cash on DraftKings today. I want some of the more expensive bats today. And we have these mid-tier cheap pitchers and Matz, Eflin, Kluber. You can maybe throw Skubal in there too at 8,700 on the higher end. He has a lot of strikeout upside tonight, in my opinion, today. So that's basically where I stand, not spending up on cash games. I'm in that sort of seconds here. Will's back. We'll get to Will in just a second and talk some tournaments. We'll see if Will's internet's back. But TJ, what do you real think on cash games? Do you think you should be spending up on Peralta on either site, or are you more in that mid-tier overall today?
I'm more in the mid-tier overall. So for cash games, for single entry stuff, I think you're sticking with the Eflin, the Matz, the Klubers. I personally have Kluber ahead of Peralta on both sites.
Mm-hmm.
I'd rather play him than Peralta, but I think on FanDuel I would prefer Matz and Eflin in cash games, but Kluber would definitely be a close number 3 for me. In tournaments, I really think you can get different and play whoever the heck that you want. You look at somebody like Marcus Stroman. Yeah, he's overpriced, but absolutely no one is playing him. Ian Anderson, no one playing him. Skubal, no one playing him. Kopech, Michael, nobody playing him. Ryu, no one playing him. Gonzalez, no one playing him. Not that any of these guys are in fantastic spots, but none of the pitchers are really that great today. And so it's like all of the percentages of all of these guys potentially being the top pitcher tonight are so close together, because all of them are just pretty okay. If you want to spend down and you want to play Bailey Ober against Seattle, I don't usually want to play Bailey Ober, but on a pitching slate like this, 7,200 on FanDuel, there are worse things. We're going to be seeing a little bit of ownership to Cleveland. Maybe you want to play Chris Bubich. I don't, but you can truly play anyone tonight. Somebody that I'm not comfortable with doing this, but I'm currently taking a shot on, is Tyler Wells, 5,500 on FanDuel. DK, you don't need him. DK, you just don't need him at all because, like you said, you can play 2 mid-tier pitchers and get whoever the hell you want. Heck, sorry. Tyler Wells, though, on FanDuel, he's probably only going to pitch 4 innings, but he's somebody that has shown a lot of strikeout upside, and we just have absolutely no pitching on this slate. And so because of that, I don't mind trying to get 20, 25 maybe points out of him and spending up on my Blue Jays and the Braves and guys like that.
Yeah, and if you were on DK searching for a cheap one too, Wells, you said you don't need him, but he's like the Kopech arbitrage. I think Kopech is the guy everyone's going to be playing that's ultra cheap on DraftKings and tournaments. You might only get 3 innings out of him today, but he could strike out 4 or 5 batters. That's more than enough to probably get it there tonight for 5,600. And if Kopech, we've currently got him at 20%. Wells at 1%, right? That's like a huge arbitrage off of that and the price range ownership stuff if you were trying to get there in a tournament. What do you think, real quick? Mets, Kluber, Peralta, and Eflin are drawing all the ownership. I'm going to give me, if you had to roster one of Skubal or Anderson, right? These are probably like the other 2 guys, or Ryu. I'm personally not on Ryu as much. I think I'm on the Skubal Anderson. I sort of like the Texas bats a little bit today. Which one of Skubal or Anderson would you be more apt to use today for a tournament?
Probably Skubal. But to be honest with you, so like something I did today on FanDuel is I have my 3 main lineups. And then what I tried to do is, because some of these pitchers, I think their range of outcomes are all so similar tonight, what I did is I made a bunch of the same teams and I just swapped the pitchers because they're all so close together in price. So on FanDuel, I am actually getting a little bit of Skubal, a little bit of Ober. Didn't get to any Anderson. Didn't get to any Peralta just because of that price. I did get a little Marco Gonzalez. I did get a little Michael Kopech, even on FanDuel at that 8K price tag. I think I ended up getting 1 Marcus Stroman team in, a couple Shinju Ryu teams in. And I didn't get it yet, but I don't mind even taking a couple shots on a guy like Carlos Carrasco, even cheaper.
All right. I want to bring up too, I usually always do this when I do the shows, the weather. We don't really have any weather concerns today. You can go to Ross weather page. It's free for everybody. The winds are basically blowing across the fields at a lot of stadiums today. The only one where it really is Kansas City. It's 70 and the wind's blowing out to left. And if you look at Weather Edge, that actually is a reasonable bump to home runs. And I know the bat picked up on that today because the bat loves the hitters in that game today, especially for power, if you're betting and things like that. Pick your favorite Cleveland or Royal to hit a home run or go over runs or RBIs. The bet absolutely loves that game. So at least the main guys to have really good days today. So I want to touch on that for weather. I'm going to jump to catcher on DraftKings for cash. FanDuel on this big slate, probably not using a catcher. So Will's back. We'll see if Will sticks in just a second. We've got for cash on DraftKings, if you're using both mine and TJ's, I think preferred build, right? We're in that mid tier of pitching and you're not spending up on Peralta. You probably have enough money to get Sal Perez, right? So he's in that game in Kansas City. Kansas City is pretty tough to hit home runs in, but with the wind blowing out at 70, right? It's good weather. Perez can mash the ball. It's against Cal Quantrill. I think Perez is certainly your cash game pitcher or your cash game catcher as long as you're using your mid-tier pitchers. If you are going, maybe you are using Peralta, you've got a guy like Gary Sanchez. He's 2,800. Would probably be my spot to maybe save some money to still be able to get some of the other bats that you want today. With catcher, I see Will's here. So I'm gonna introduce Will back into it. Are you good, Will? What are some tournament catchers that you might want to use today? We'll see how long you're in for. You're on mute. There you go.
Yeah, I know. I knew I was on mute. So for me, all my catches are always mostly going to come from my stacks. So I'm really high on Philly, as is probably everyone else. Really high on the Blue Jays, as is everyone else. And I'm actually sneaky high on Cleveland today against Chris Bubbick. So in terms of catcher, like I know we've got Lavastida down here. Like he's kind of like a sneaky one that he's at the bottom of the order, but he's cheap. And I can get him in a lot of lineups. So, he's someone I'm interested in. I don't hate and this, I don't hate Omar Narvaez today against Marcus Stroman. I know Stroman's going to be really pushing the ball down the dirt, but Narvaez has got a little pop, and so I don't mind playing him as well. But all my catchers are pretty much coming from my stats. That's how I'm going to do him. I like the Braves as well, so Travis d'Arnaud, like he's going to be in there. And those are the main guys. I'm probably not as high on the Mets as everyone else may be throughout the day, so I don't really want to play Thomas Nido. But other than that, though, that's pretty much where all my catchers are coming from. If I had to take one catcher, I mean, it's absolutely going to be for the Blue Jays. If I had to take one.
TJ too, you're doing tournaments. What are sort of your favorite offenses today before we get more into the position by position stuff?
Yeah, so from a stack standpoint, my favorite offense
Blue Jays
is the Blue Jays. FanDuel, DraftKings, both of them for me.
Yep.
Second would probably be I did the expert survey today. I guess I could just look at what I put there to make sure I don't get this wrong. But it goes Toronto, then Cleveland for me. Then third would probably be Atlanta, then the Mets, and then the White Sox would probably be number 5 for me.
All right, let's get to maybe first base for cash. We've got Vlad. He is available on both sites at the first base spot. I've gotten to that, right, because I have those mid-tier pitchers. And even if you use Peralta, if you use a guy, right, like the Cleveland catcher down there, he's 2K, or Gary Sanchez, and you just go cheap, maybe one other spot, you can still get access to a guy like Vlad Guerrero. Is there any reason to not want him as your cash game first baseman today, TJ?
Nope. Play him.
Yeah, that's
at first base.
Yeah, I bet his over. I bet his over total one and a half total bases. I bet on that today too. So I'm all in on Vlad today between DFS and on the sports book today. Vlad's there's a lot of games today, and there's some good first basemen. Will, what else are we doing at the position? Right, Alonso could smash Fetty. You know, that could be 2 home runs. Goldschmidt could have a good game today. There's some decent. There's even some good cheap first basemen out there today.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think Jose Abreu gets enough credit, like just in general, right? Like, so he's someone that I do think is sneaky. Like, Screwball's not a bad pitcher, but Abreu's, he's just good, right? And he's never really 5K or 4K, never really 5K too much on DK, and he's never really 4K too much on FanDuel. And so he's a guy I think that if you can get him in your lineups, I absolutely would today. I know on FanDuel you can play Schwarber at first, I think, as well. You can play Schwarber at first. So I think he's sneaky. Those are kind of the approaches I want to take on this slate outside of all of Vlad Guerrero you can handle. Like, if you ask me straight up, like, who's probably the best player, it's probably Vlad.
Yeah.
But, you know, if I want to differentiate a little bit, you know, those are a couple of guys like Mr. Consistent. Joey Votto is just hanging around out there today, and he's not expensive. Could he hit a home run off Ian Anderson? Absolutely. Or if he doesn't, he's probably just going to get 4 walks and 3 runs, and it's all going to add up. So those are some guys that I'm looking at the spot that are a little bit different for tournaments.
All right, it's second base for cash on both sites. TJ, I found myself going cheap on both sites today. On FanDuel, I'm looking at Colton Wong hitting leadoff today. He's 2,500 on FanDuel, right? In order to play Vlad and some of, you know, if you want to play Springer and Jose Ramirez and guys like that, right, you have to go cheap at a couple spots, even with a guy like Matt's at pitcher. So I think Wong leading off in Chicago, right, probably going to get 5 at bats on the road. 2,500 looks a little bit too cheap there. And DraftKings has Robbie Cano hitting third. He's up to third in the lineup today. He's just 2,400 against Fetty. These are like the guys I found myself going with. I do like Marcus Semien. I like the offense in this Texas-Toronto game. You can probably take the over in that game as a whole if you're on the sports book, and I think you'll probably get away with that today. But and then Ozzie Albies is 4,700 on DraftKings, but I just needed to save a little bit of money, so I'm going cheap personally.
Yeah, I'm with you. So on FanDuel, actually, my favorite as well is Cano. I found I don't like that second base position very much today at all, and so I found myself getting cheap. And I like Cano a little bit better than than Wong, but there's other options that you can punt with nice and cheap there as well on FanDuel. You have VR, you have Adam Frazier, all with good spots in the lineup that I think are reasonable that you can go with there. And then on DK, yeah, I think your top option for sure is Cano, so cheap. If you don't need the salary, my two favorite options I think are Albies as well as Semien, and the one I'm landing on right now is Albies.
All right. Chiefs, second base. Anything really standing out to you? Maybe I was sort of looking at like a Whit Merrifield and a KC stack if you're playing tournaments. I just like that game, weather, wind, that has it going, bad pitching. So both sides of that game, I think you were on too. Does that make some sense to you?
Absolutely. Of course, you want to get involved with all the Blue Jays you can handle. I can't stress enough how important the Blue Jays are. And you might not be able to get anyone on at second there, like kind of officially, but I do like Albies. I think Brandon Lowe is sneaky today in tournaments. Going against Tyler Wells, he hadn't really kind of cranked it up yet this season. I know we're just like barely in, so I'm not trying to over exaggerate. Like this is like his third game, but this is one of those spots where, the Rays have a somewhat hefty total, and he's one of the better home run hitters on this team. And he's got a lot of run protection, in my opinion, behind him. He's leading off. He's got Franco behind him, Randy, G-Man Choi. I think he's got a good chance to score 2 or 3 runs here. So he's kind of sneaky for me in tournaments.
All right, going to third base for cash. Let's see. I was looking at, first off, what is DraftKings doing putting Bobby Witt Jr. at $2,100, right? So you got him, you got to get him into your team somewhere over there today. FanDuel's, he's cheap too. You could throw him. I think he's shortstop / third base, right? So either one. But if you have money, you definitely want to try to get a Jose Ramirez in today. I think his outlook for today looks extremely good, and I want to get some exposure. So basically, it's Bobby Witt and Jose Ramirez for me today, TJ.
Yeah, 100%. Same boat. As we were talking, I've been making some DraftKings lineups, and I realized that it's pretty easy to fit exactly what I want to do. And because of that, I've decided to actually enter some teams on DK, which I hadn't planned on doing today. Mm-hmm. And the two, like we talked about, 2 second basemen I have, Albies and Cano. The 2 third basemen I have are Witt Jr. and Jose Ramirez.
Yeah, those guys look pretty good. For tournaments, Chief, what's standing out to you at the position?
So sneakily, I think Eduardo Escobar is going to have a good day with the Mets. I know I'm kind of, so to me, and I will tell you guys how I play. I typically will stack the team that I like. I may not run a full stack on the other side. Like sometimes I'll just have like 4 one-offs or 3 one-offs or however. And so he's kind of a one-off play for me today. Just kind of looked at some numbers. Looks like Fetty's going to be, sitting on the sinker a lot. And, Escobar's got good numbers, 42% hard hit rate, 276 ISO. He's got an 81% contact rate. I think at third where, maybe you have to get creative a little bit. I like him a lot. I don't really have to sell you on Jose Ramirez. Like, I talked about Cleveland being sneaky against Chris Bubbick anyway. So Ramirez is there as well. But Eduardo Escobar and Erod for sure are guys that I like.
All right, if you guys want to get your questions in, we will take preference from the MLB Crunch Time chat and Discord. That is for paid RotoGrinders premium subscribers. If we run out of time towards the end of the show for that, we will go to the YouTubes for that. But start putting them in because this is crunch time. We are starting to run a little late here. Shortstop. So you got Bobby Witt on FanDuel or third base. You probably got to play him there. You've got Lindor on DraftKings, TJ. He's 4,400. If you can't get to the Bichette, Wander Franco tier, I think Lindor is a pretty good consolation prize at 4,400. He just sort of fits into the lineups. If you got a little cheaper, you've got Rosario for Cleveland. He's 3,700. He's probably the other guy. And I know you got a couple cheap plays like an Elvis Andrus is 3,300, but that dude just stinks. Probably not going to go that cheap when you've got Rosario for just a little more expensive.
Yeah, on FanDuel, it's Bichette for me, just because that price between him and Lindor is so close. I'm actually getting the Bichette on DK as well, just because of the salary is there. It's easy for me to get to him. But if you can't get there, I think your next best option is Lindor. There are some cheapies as well that you talked about. Witt Jr. on FanDuel, Ahmed Rosario, 2,500 on FanDuel that you can go to. But I think just it's easy to. It's not that tough to find salary tonight, and so going up to Bichette is my favorite option.
All right, real quick, Chief, shortstop. You've got Bichette. We like him for cash. You've mentioned Toronto for tournaments. You got to like him, but what else would you be doing today?
Give me a little bit of Carlos Correa today against Marco Gonzalez. Lefty righty, good numbers. I like it. I don't mind Tim Anderson as well leading off. Don't mind Lindor against Freddie. Of course, you know, we talked about Bo Bichette. I'm going to play him as well. But I do like Gene Segura in my Philly stacks. Like, let me get all the Gene sandwiched in between Harper and the gang. So I like him a lot as well. Definitely think the name of the game for me today is trying to get guys that I think can score a lot of runs. And I think Gene Segura is on that short list.
All right, TJ, in the outfield, if you have to have, who's the one guy, if you know you can get salary for anybody, so if you have one guy you got to have in the outfield today, who is that?
Probably George Springer on FanDuel. I think it's George Springer on DK. So for expensive options, George Springer, Bryce Harper, fantastic plays. Byron Buxton, fantastic play. But there's a cheap option that I really like saving salary with as well, and that's Quan on the Guardians, batting second, right between Straw and Jose Ramirez. So I really like this spot for him. I think he looks good, and so that's somebody I'm interested with saving salary in. But if not, I like Harper, I like Buxton, I like Springer. And those are basically the only guys I'm going to be playing cash game type situations in the outfield. But then, of course, you got your Teoscar Hernandez, your Lourdes Gurriels, and your Jay stack as well.
Yeah, I'm going to throw in a Franmil Reyes as well. With the weather and wind out there, I think he's normally not someone I tend to play in cash, but you're searching for, there's really not a lot of offense. So you want someone who actually has the physical power to hit a home run on anything in any game. And he's certainly one of those guys that qualifies today. So he's someone on my radar. Chief, in tournaments, is there, there's 10 games. There's a lot of ways to fill in your outfield today.
Yeah, I'm just going to mention one guy that's another. I'm on off the beaten path guys for right now. Give me Eddie Rosario from the Braves, my hometown, Atlanta Braves. I think he's in a really good spot here. Probably going to go overlooked a little bit. I think the Braves in general may go overlooked some. They're another sneaky team, but Eddie Rosario, Ozuna, like I like the Braves outfield today. They've got a good little collection that you can pick from out of Rosario, Ozuna, Duvall, Alex Dickerson, who's really cheap, right? Especially if you want to squeeze in some Jays. Really like those guys. And then I do want to go ahead and talk about Tyler O'Neill against Bryce Wilson. He started out the season hot, like him as well.
Yeah, that was gonna be my one. Big man Tyler O'Neill was another guy I was gonna throw in here for tournaments for sure. Looking another guy who just has total raw power. And I like Soto too. Soto's maybe more of a cash game than a tournament because there's not a lot around him today. But I absolutely love him. Basically anytime he's at the plate. All right, let's take some questions from the Crunch Time channel. I'll start to the top here. Andrushki wanted to know Quantrill on either site in tournaments today. He is not someone I really got to today. Will, how about you?
Oh, not playing him. I don't think he's bad. I just don't think I need him.
Yeah, the Dodgers money line and the runs over under runs yesterday were not good. But I am Alexander Don. I am back on the Coors the what is it, 11 total or whatever it is today. I like the over on that as well again today. Prodigy 31 wants to know FanDuel single entry. So Vlad, Chapman, and Eflin, or Kluber. Well, let's see. So Vlad, Chapman, and then Eflin is your pitcher, or Hoskins, Eloy, and Kluber is your pitcher.
Vlad Chapman, Eflin.
All right. Yes. I think
And I will say this secretly, the A's, I haven't talked about pitching a lot because I was probably missing. The A's have like crazy high strikeout rates right now. This is a good matchup for Eflin for what it's worth.
All right, I'm just trying to get in one more bet before these games start in just a minute here. Let's see, a couple other. That would be Ian. I'm going to take that Ian Anderson over strikeouts on our sponsor FanDuel. I think it is. Let's see here.
Where's it sitting at? Is that 3.5 or 4?
It's at 4.5, but the over is plus 130. That's the best site right now to get it at. So I don't mind throwing that out there. The 4.5 I think is fair, but you get the plus odds. I'm okay taking that today. All right, let's see. A couple more. Who's home in Cleveland? Right, I like that one. Best. There's not a lot of questions here. All right, BHB, DraftKings Cash, Kluber and Schwarber, or Eflin and Teoscar?
Eflin and Teoscar.
That one's very close to me. I think either one is probably the correct call today.
Yeah, you're not wrong either way. I agree.
Yeah. Couple more. Reyes 4,100 on DraftKings. Yes, I like him. I like him on FanDuel too. I like him to hit a homer. I like his hits. I bet a whole bunch of different Reyes props today. So the back
One of my favorites is Bryce Harper over 1.5 bases today for what it's worth.
1.5. Yeah, I got the Vlad on that one too. Let's see here, Fran Mill. All right, so I don't really see. It's just a lot of chat going on in the Discord. I'm going to go to the YouTubes. If you are watching on YouTube, we do appreciate you watching. Please click the like button either now or on your way out later today. Let's see. A couple people like the Anderson one. Not a lot of questions today, guys. Let's do this. All right. So I guess if we don't have questions, Will, let's throw out some bets for some people. What's going on in the prop shop?
So before we get there, I just want to give a couple quick tournament takes, just because I really agree with what Will said on a few of the pieces, and so I really want to hammer them home. Escobar is one of my favorite tournament plays today at third base. Jose Abreu is one of my favorite tournament plays at third base. I think the White Sox are a very interesting way in general to get very different tonight and to kind of find your way into winning a GPP that nobody else is going to have them. They don't have a very high total, but they got a ton of guys who can smash lefties. And so any of those, you play any of that top 5 order and all of them, you could, don't be surprised if they get a home run tonight.
All right. A couple other questions. FanDuel single entry, this from Jay Sams in our Discord. Are we concerned with Eflin as a leash due to his knee injury? I think it was up to like mid 60s pitches in his last start. You get like 75, 80 pitches from the guy. Basically no starter goes more than 5 innings unless they're throwing really good. Are we still okay playing Eflin today, Chief?
I am. Like I said, I'm basing a lot of it on historical plate IQ stuff. If you pull up plate IQ right now, he's really got a good spot here. If these numbers hold in the strikeout department, and I don't want to hold this because I know we're getting close. But I mean, look, man, he's got Tony Kilpitt and Elvis Anderson at the top, but then you get down to Murphy here batting third, 24.5, 28%, 34%, 24%, 21%, 43 and 33.8. And that's over 2 seasons. But the point is 3 through 9 are all, I mean, ridiculously high strikeout guys. I like Eflin a lot.
People want to know about the cards today, right? Like we both liked O'Neill. You can definitely stack the cards, no problem today.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah,
I don't hate Steven Matz either if Pittsburgh's going to continue to be bad.
I like worth. Yeah, Matt's my cash game pitcher, like without question today. You can like Matt's and Kluber or Eflin, right? That mid tier for cash is where I was living today to get access to some of the bats that I wanted. All right, go back to Discord here. Card stack. Orioles against Kluber today, right? If people are playing Kluber, right? Kluber can get blown up. Does that send a little twinkle into your GPP mind, Will?
Somewhat. I will say this. Cedric Mullins, in my opinion, is always like the ultimate one-off play. Like Baltimore can score 3 runs and he can be involved in all of them. Like it's really insane how many fantasy points he scores on a regular basis. And at some point in the year, he's going to get hot. But I would absolutely get some Cedric Mullins in because he can hit a home run, steal base. He does it all. So I don't think I'm in on a full Orioles stat, but I'm all about some Cedric Mullins.
All right. Darren Unger and YouTube want to know our favorite FanDuel cash starting pitcher. To me, it was Matz, right? So he's a reasonably good pitcher. Going up against Pittsburgh, pitchers against Pittsburgh all season long, pitchers all season long against Oakland. We're going to be targeting until further notice, and he lets you get the bats that you really want today. What would your FanDuel starting pitcher be today, TJ?
Yeah, mine's Matt's as well.
All right, yeah. So I think Matt's is probably the guy I think we both like today. Let's see here. Dave has a question from YouTube. He's new. He's never really played MLB DFS. He wants to know about late swap in baseball. So Chief, we're basically at lock. Give maybe like a 1 to 2 minute on how you want a late swap. With MMEing, right? It's a little easier. You can do that on Lineup HQ, but if you've just got one, how I might typically do it, right? Like if your starting pitcher goes out and gets shelled right away, if you have, let's say you have Eflin today, right? And
I think Eflin's a good starting point for sure.
Yeah. So let's say Eflin's at 105, right? And let's say he gets hit around a little bit in that first game, right? He's got there's a lot of games, but let's say in the first inning, he gives up 2 runs or something like that. It's not going to be he's not going to win you a tournament. So if you were on Toronto, if you were on some of the other high powered offenses in that tournament lineup, I would move away from that in that point, at least specific to like today's slate is basically my easiest take on it. Well,
yeah, I don't mind that at all. Or maybe, for me, typically, I will say this, I don't late swap a lot in baseball because I typically have kind of a game plan and I'm prepared for every situation. But in single entry, let's say you played Eflin like that same scenario, he gives up 2 runs. I don't think I'm going to swap out everybody in Toronto, but I think I'm going to get really detailed in my home run approach, right? Like who are the 2 or 3 guys or 2 guys I think are going to hit home runs? And I might go from full stacks to like a bunch of 2-mans, like give me Vlad, give me Springer, give me, Eddie Rosario, give me Albies, give me, what I'm saying? And kind of do a slightly different approach there. Because I'm already probably going to have Eduardo Escobar in that lineup anyway. So, you know what I'm saying? I go to more of a 2-man approach than like a full-blown Blue Jay stack.
Yeah, today's a little different because we have basically the main slate. All the games start within an hour and 15 minutes of each other. So like on the main slates, right, you'll get some 7 and some 10 o'clock games. It's a little easier to have an idea of maybe what that starting pitcher is doing that you use with maybe one of the late stacks that you had. So I'm sure probably 99% of DFS players don't late swap in baseball. That might even be higher, like 99.5. They just sort of roll with it. But you could certainly get an edge. You're not going to win if your pitcher gets blown up, but maybe you can save yourself a cash if you swap some things around or something like that at the end. So,
yeah, I mean, I will say there's only one pitcher that I think I've seen help you still win a tournament and gave up 6 runs. That was Garrett Cole, I think, last season. Guy, he just got shelled one day. I mean, and I think he had like 12 strikeouts, gave up 6 runs, and you were still fine. That's about the only time I've seen it.
Baseball is so stupid. I've seen lineups with like 3 zeros win tournaments. Negative 15 from a pitcher can win a tournament.
I've seen that too. Now that you mentioned it, I have seen negative pitching.
Baseball is so weird.
They won. I got you.
All right.
I have won a decent amount of money with negative pitcher last year, and it was just like absolutely infuriating, but so exciting at the same time.
I don't deserve this, but I'll take it.
so Britt, last thing, because I know we got to go. Let me say this, and I did have this guy that night. Do you guys remember the Scooter Jeanette like 3-4 home run game where he scored like 100 fantasy points?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh! Like your pitcher could have had like negative 20, and if you had Scooter, you were going to cash. It was crazy.
You know what? I remember that. I remember that because I'm pretty sure you talked about him on the morning grind that day with Stevie, and I had him too. And so, like, I had Scooter that day.
Oh yeah, I had plenty of Scooter. I was like, oh man, this is amazing.
I'm pretty sure that day was actually my first like big tournament baseball win. I was playing the 222, and I won it with Scooter that day.
Scooter. Listen, that was probably one of the best performances outside of, I think didn't JD do something similar when he was with the Dodgers for like a split second? Like, didn't he like 4 home runs or something? Do you guys know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, I thought that actually was with the Red Sox, but I do remember the 4 homer game.
Yeah, 4 home run games are just, if you don't have that dude, it's you close the laptop.
Yeah. It may have been with or was it Arizona? I can't remember. But either way, JD had one similar. Hey, but yeah, I know you got to close this out, Britt. Sorry, I was just reminiscing about negative pitching with big time bat performances.
All right, I'm gonna get out. I'm gonna throw one more bet. It hit last night. I gave it out on the crunch time. Jared Walsh home run. He was like the only guy that actually had an offensive performance yesterday. It seemed like. I'm going back to it today. I used the bat and then some common sense to put my home run bets together. That is the bat's favorite, at least on the Vegas lines. Home run bet of the day would be Mr. Jared Walsh. So I will be going back to that myself personally. Will, you got any other bets for the people?
Yeah, I mean, if you're playing, well, you've already missed that one, but if you're playing on Prize Picks, I will say that you still got a pretty good edge with Vlad and Bo Bichette in their fantasy point area, like they're at 8.5 and 7.5.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm telling you right now, Vlad was coming in at 9.5 and Bichette was at 8.5 last season. So you're getting a pretty good discount to start the season. Jose Ramirez at 7.5. This is the fantasy point column. Really like that. I took overs there. And then Michael Kopech, I'm playing speculatively here, but we've got him. Well, he's starting now.
That game started, yeah.
Yeah, he was at 20.5 fantasy points. They base it on FanDuel scoring. So if he comes out and gets 5 or 6 strikeouts, goes 4 innings, gives up a run, like you're well over. So Kopech at 20.5.
He's also 3.2% owned, and I got him in one of my tournament lineups. So
yeah,
fingers crossed. Other one that I'm excited about. Hopefully he gets 4 innings. Maybe I get lucky and win a GPP if he goes 5. Tyler Wells, 0.2% owned.
All right,
I need that game to stay clean in the first inning. So, Britt, have you realized that Prize Picks has these first inning score props now?
I have not opened. So I'm on another one where like the fantasy point hitters are like half of what they should be, Will. So I literally have just spent all my time on that for the past like 2 or 3 days. So I haven't made it over there yet.
Hey, I can't do shows with Chief anymore. It's too tilting because I did a Grinders live with him and I was like, all right, let's do a bunch of Prize Picks. I made 2 teams, 10x'd on both of them, made a few $1,000s. Couple weeks later, Prize Picks no longer in Canada.
Oh, do they are you in the part of Canada they just got the sports book? What's that, Ontario?
So Ontario, they just got the sports book.
Yeah.
And at the time they got the sports book, they made DFS illegal.
Oh.
So DraftKings, FanDuel, Prize Picks gone in Ontario.
Oh wow.
DraftKings and FanDuel everywhere else in Canada is still good, so I'm good there.
Yeah.
But Prize Picks just like shut it down for the whole country.
And you have no sports books either then, do you?
No.
So like I don't know.
But
I can go on. You got to be careful on that because you might lose DFS if you get the sports book. So you want to keep the DFS, I think.
Yeah, exactly. That's where my bread and butter is anyway.
Yeah. All right. We're gonna get out of here. Thanks to everyone for watching. Thanks to FanDuel for sponsoring the show. Chief, glad you can make it. TJ, fun doing the show with you. I'm Britt. Thanks for watching, everybody, and we out you.